Hi, I'm Mike Cabaney. The story I'm about to tell you took place over 61 years ago. The Korean War had just ended and tensions between the United States and Russia were strained. Nuclear war seemed a real possibility. Both countries, the United States and Russia, possessed the ability to destroy one another. In 1954, I graduated from Fordham University. While at Fordham, I participated for 4 years in the U.S. Army's Reserve Officer Training Corps. Upon graduation, I was commissioned a second lieutenant in the United States Army. Then I was sent to Fort Bliss, Texas, to study the principles of anti-aircraft artillery. I was then sent to Nutley, New Jersey, to a camp locally known as Camp Nutley, but it was the Battery A of the 98th AAA Battalion. While at Nutley, I started as the platoon leader. Then I was the executive officer, and then later I was promoted to battery and camp commander. With the threat of nuclear attack, anti-aircraft batteries were installed around the major cities. Camp Nutley was one of those set up for the protection of New York City.
Now, we must be ready for a new danger, the atomic bomb. First, you have to know what happens when an atomic bomb explodes. You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. Our civil defense workers and our men in uniform will do everything they can to warn us before enemy planes can bring a bomb near us. You may be in your schoolyard playing when the signal comes. That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place fast. Always remember, the flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time, no matter where you may be.
It was believed that if a Russian attack were to happen, they would fly by way of the North Pole. They would immediately be picked up by the distant early warning system radar. Then jet fighters from Canada and the United States would engage the bombers. Those that got through would then be engaged by anti-aircraft artillery batteries on both sides of the Hudson River, such as Camp Nutley.
Despite the devastating destruction our fighter interceptors will inflict upon the invaders, some may get through. Those enemy aircraft not destroyed by our fighter interceptors will probably deploy toward their assigned objectives, which could be Washington, D.C., Seattle, New York, Detroit, Los Angeles, or other large, heavily populated and industrial cities in the United States.
Camp Nutley had 4 90mm anti-aircraft guns. These were supported by an advanced radar system. The advanced radar system would track the plane, calculate the firing positions, and send info to the guns by remote control, and the commanding officer was the only one who could press the fire button. It should be noted that the 90mm guns could fire 17 miles and at an altitude of 34,000 feet. Camp Nutley was one of 4 firing batteries of the 98th AAA Battalion. The other batteries were located in Newark, East Rutherford, and Belleville. Also at Belleville was the 98th AAA Battalion headquarters. Each day we conducted crew drills. The radar unit would track commercial airliners and private planes for training. Then they would send the calculated information to the gun crews. The gun crews would then simulate a firing sequence. We never had live ammunition in the guns during these drills. And during these drills, only the battery commander could press the fire button.
Aircraft may be tracked solely by radar. Whether tracked by optical sight or by radar, the information is fed by electric cable to a director. This mechanical quiz kid digests the data and automatically computes the right lead, setting the guns. So they will fire not at where the target is now, but at where it will be at the end of the shell's time of flight. The director will then go on automatically adjusting and setting the guns as long as the planes remain in range. Of course, guns do not fire singly, but in batteries of 4 or 6. Our symbol now represents the heavier fire of a whole battery making a continuous pattern of bursts along the plane's course. Often, several batteries are within range, and all fire with the proper lead, as produced by their own fire control instruments. Each battery maintains predicted fire until it can no longer reach the attacking planes. But new batteries take up the firing as soon as they come within range. This is called continuously pointed fire.
Two weeks per year, we would march order all of our equipment and all of our personnel to the tip of Long Island. At the tip of Long Island, there was a small firing base known as Camp Hero. We would set up all of our equipment, and for 2 weeks, we would practice firing live ammunition at simulated aerial targets. Camp Nutley was on a piece of ground of 5 acres in size. It was located at the corner of Park Avenue and River Road. It is presently known as Father Glotzbach Park. We had 11 buildings, 10 of which were corrugated steel sides with a corrugated roof and plywood floors. The only building that was masonry was the mess hall for obvious reasons. Building 20 feet by 40 feet. The rear half of the building was the supply and the supply sergeant. And the front half, which was 20 by 20, was the battery clerk, the first sergeant, and the commanding officer. All of the barrack buildings house 14 men and use a potbelly stove for heat in the wintertime. We had our own motor pool. There were 2 men assigned to the motor pool as equipment mechanics. Their objective was to fix and maintain all of our equipment, including the guns. The mess hall was where everyone had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The food was outstanding. We drew our rations from the Bayonne Naval Base. On weekends, those who were not on duty could bring their family. When I was not on duty, my wife and I would go there for a meal. The meals for officers were charged 35 cents each. The enlisted personnel were free. On our battery site, we had a medical and dental facility. There were doctors from Fort Wadsworth who would come twice a week to perform what needed to be done. This medical facility was not only for Battery A, but for the other 3 firing batteries and headquarters. We had a day room where men could relax if they were off duty. We had television, ping pong, and very comfortable chairs. Also in the day room was a small, tiny room called a PX. It was manned by one of the soldiers. It was open in the evening only and sold things like cigarettes, toothpaste, toothbrushes, etc., etc. We also used the day room during the day as a classroom for classroom training. We had a small parade field in the center of all of the buildings. It was used primarily for formations of soldiers, and it was also used as a helicopter pad. We had a helicopter fly in every 6 months with the commanding officer of the 80th AAA group. He was a full colonel, and he would come every 6 months to inspect the battery. We had great relations with the community. We gave tours to Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and even community leaders. We held dances every several months for the soldiers. It was held in the mess hall. They could bring their wives or their girlfriends. Liquor was never served. On one occasion, a women's group baked pies, cakes, cookies, and delivered them to the camp for the soldiers, which was greatly appreciated. In 1957, many of the anti-aircraft battery sites, such as Nutley, were converted to Nike sites because the technology of the aircraft that the enemy was using was greatly enhanced. Camp Nutley was not one of those sites. Therefore, it ended up being closed in 1957.
Nike was the first supersonic anti-aircraft guided missile designed to follow the enemy target regardless of evasive action. This improved version, called Nike Ajax, has been the backbone of the Army's continental anti-aircraft defense in past years. The weapon has 3 major components in its slender 21-foot-long body. Those are the rocket motor to provide propulsion, a guidance package to steer it to the target, and a lethal warhead to destroy the target. Actually, Nike Ajax has 2 motors, one of which is a solid propellant booster to drive the missile off its launcher with a tremendous acceleration. After it has expended its fuel, the booster separates from the missile. The missile's self-contained liquid fuel sustainer rocket motor then takes over and provides enough propulsion force to maintain Nike Ajax supersonic speed all the way to the point of target intercept.
It's hard to believe that when I first came to Camp Nutley, I was a 23-year-old second lieutenant. Now that I am 85 years old, my wife and I still return to the camp often. When we do, our visits are always filled with wonderful memories of the camp, the soldiers, and the support of the community. And greatly appreciated is the monument placed on the site that pays tribute to the men who served there.